Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast with Mike Trainer, Jay Jules, and John Depot. Hey, what's up, Giants fan? Welcome to the Big Blue Offensive Podcast. You can follow me, Mike Trainer, you know where. Then we got Jules, you know where you can follow him. Then we got John, you know where you can follow him. But you can follow all of us together at the BBO NYD Podcast on all platforms. Just look it up. Follow us, like, subscribe. If you don't feel like listening to the whole episode, just leave it on in the background so we could get credit for the commercials and we get paid. Guys, man, what is up, man? I had like pretty interesting couple weekends. I don't know about you guys, but like I know, Jules, we got some topics to discuss. What do you want to get into first, man? You want to go over a list of topics and then we'll talk about our weekends?
Sure. And also, quick shout out to the Facebook group. You know, we're up to 1.3 members of the group. It's the Big Blue Offensive Podcast Facebook group. So if you're not on it, get on it. We post episodes and articles and everything in it all the time. It's definitely cool. Good gathering group. Guys got different things that they provide in there as far as jerseys and memorabilia and all types of stuff. So it's a cool group, man. Get involved. It's growing. We're going to start posting different things and activities in the future. So definitely get a part of that shit. But definitely for today, we are going to talk about a couple of different things. But let's get into the weekend first, man. And then we'll get into the topics and shit, yo. To me, this weekend was kind of chill because the weather kind of sucked in New York, of course, because we're going back and forth with great weather then shitty weather. I don't know what to do. I'm wearing T-shirts and fucking shorts one weekend, and the next week I'm in like a fucking hoodie and fucking jeans because it's freezing out and shit. But the one cool thing that actually kicked off this weekend, I know I'm into, I don't know about the rest of you guys or any of our listeners, was the Euro Cup, right? And the Euro Cup is literally the second biggest major soccer tournament in the world, right? Next to World Cup, Euro Cup is the biggest thing. And simply because if you look at the last four World Cup winners, they were of European nation. And that's pretty fucking impressive, man. You're talking literally, you would have to go when the World Cup comes around next year. It's going to be 20 years since a non-European nation has actually won that championship. And of course, that was Brazil back in 2002. But it's just good, man. It's really competitive soccer. It's something that I can get into and I get behind. I mean, shit, this is a world sport, even though the NFL is growing. And we've been telling you lately about how it's making its way through Europe and other parts of the world. But this is just something that is already a part of the world. All these different nations are involved with it. It's pretty damn cool. So I was like all into that shit. I did one of those pools where you pick the fucking winners of each match or a draw. So like I've been like all into it. Of course, I fucked up on Sunday because I forgot that England-Croatia match was kicking off at 9 a.m. I woke up at like 10 and was like, fuck. So I had like the draw. I thought I had England winning. They had the fucking winning 1-0. I was like, son of a bitch.
That's the only thing that keeps me interested in soccer is that pool I'm in. And right now, I have no idea like any of these teams. I'm just looking at these numbers. They, rank them as. So right now, I'm like the points leader in the fucking group. I don't know how I did it, but I can't even sit there watching these fucking games. It's so boring to me. Jules, I know we're in a group text with a couple of our friends, and then I know you guys are going back and forth talking about Poland and the other teams. I'm like, I just can't do it, man. Like, John, are you a big like soccer guy, like these guys are?
Go! I think in my entire 34 years on this planet, I've watched a total of about 15 minutes of soccer, and that was the World Cup final matchup when Italy was in it, in I guess 08 or whatever year that was. I can't remember the year when they won.
We were in Vegas for that one.
Yeah, I was on a cruise. That sounds like you're in a better time than I did. But Italy won, so that was pretty cool. But that was the only time I ever really got even remotely interested in soccer. It's just too slow of a sport. I say too slow because I'm a baseball fan, but it's just not. It's too many blocks. There's not enough like cool stuff that happens. And when a game can end with a tie and there's just no winner, 0-0, that's just like doesn't. They add on time at the end. Like baseball drives me crazy with the balls and strikes not being called correctly. I can't imagine them adding on phantom amounts of time at the end of the game.
Plus, it's like a goddamn soap opera too, man. These guys are falling down like when they barely get hit. Yeah. It's like, what do you like? They fucking want to be actors and shit, Stop.
Wait, are you talking about the NBA? Oh, we're still talking about soccer. Oh, never mind.
Not LeBron James. If LeBron James played soccer, he'd be like the king of it.
Hey, you know what it is? Like I've gotten into it for so many years just because of like growing up in the Bronx and Yonkers and everything else like that. My family being involved and neighbors and everything else. And, Italy having such strong teams in the past and now presently. So it's just been kind of part of it, especially when the big tournaments came into play, like the Euro Cup and the World Cup. Like it's just always been something to follow. And like I get it. It can look and perceive to be somewhat kind of boring or slow played and whatnot. But the reality is that these guys are like looking for angles and they're passing the ball around and they're trying to fucking like exploit the other team's defense and find an opening. Very similar to like what you're doing in like the NFL, right? You run certain plays to set up other plays, right? You might be running this running play that might only gain a yard or two, and it's not popping. And then all of a sudden you do like a play action off of it and you hit the guy down the field for like a 35-yard gain, right? It's little things like that. Yes, there's a little bit more opening in football where there's a lot more scoring. There's definitely more scoring in baseball and other sports. But, one way I always used to look at it is like a goal is like a touchdown, right? So like if you kind of look at it that way and you're only playing 45 minutes each half, it kind of gives you a little bit more of an insight to it. But, that's just sort of what that weekend was about. But they're definitely kind of getting into some of the topics that we need to talk about as far as Giants football is concerned and football fans should be. A couple of the topics, I'm just going to list them off and then we'll go into them. But first topic I kind of think we should address is going to be Kadarius Toney, the ins and outs about him, mini camp, all the issues that may or may not be going on. Also want to look into a little bit more. There's been some rumors now that Adrian Peterson might sign with the Giants. We'll talk about that, what the depth is with running back and Saquon Barkley. Then also perhaps we'll get into something that we're going to do a little bit differently here on the Big Offensive. We're going to give a perspective and all pretend that we weren't Giants fans, how we would look at this 2021 team. But that's kind of what we have lined up for tonight, guys. But let's start with the beginning here. Kadarius Toney, right, guys? I know that we weren't all big diehard fans of him, right? He's kind of grown on us where I guess homers, if you would, right? We're always going to be behind these guys and support our number one first round picks without question. But the reality is, like as much as he's showed some flash, learned a new position, looked pretty kind of like dazzling, he keeps getting these comparisons to Percy Harvin and guys like that. You're hearing all this nonsense about going on with these mini camps and missing practice and not going to, voluntary OTAs and stuff. Guys, who wants to jump in first? What do you think about some of the issues and things that are going on with Kadarius Toney?
Well, before I let John talk, I did want to talk about my weekend, but
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll talk about that after Tony. I'll let John go with Tony because I think he has some comments that I read on
I
Twitter.
thought it was all about the Euro Cup, bro. My bad.
No, it wasn't all about that. Right. We'll get to that though. It's a little sneak preview.
As far as Tony's concerned, I don't know, man. I mean, you're going to get the ultimate scrutiny when you're in New York. It's just kind of part of the deal, unfortunately. I feel like it's just a little more annoying than anything else. Like I would have liked to see a couple of cool highlights with that, didn't have the tagline, one shoe off one cleat off, family emergencies, which, who knows what that's about. But I think if it was a different team, I don't know that this would be anywhere near as big a story as it is. What counts as training camp, what counts as the games really more than anything else, obviously. So I'll reserve too harsh a criticism until he's dropping passes like Evan Ingram, if that should ever happen, God forbid.
Well, it's that slow media time, right, John? We talked about this over social media. Yeah. Like they come up with these fucking dumb stories. Yeah, sure, he's playing with the second team offense, doing punt returns or whatever. We didn't even fucking practice yet. Like, can you guys fucking chill the fuck out? It's not even real practice. These guys are just showing up doing things. Let's get to like the real fucking OTAs and the real fucking training camp. And then you fucking talk to me. If he's buried beneath the fucking depth chart, then okay, we got a story. Like these guys just want to make up fucking stories, man. It's just they're relentless and people bite and they fall for it. They're like, oh, he's gonna be a bust now. I keep seeing Tony's gonna be a bust. I'm like, you guys really just do your fucking homework. Don't fall for all this bullshit all the time.
I wonder if you look back through the history of the last, let's say 10 years, just to get a good sample size of all the receivers taken in, say between 20 and 32 and that draft slot in the first rounds, how many of them in their first, mandatory minicamp were running with the first team? Like Giants are the first team to have 3 viable starters already on the team with drafting a new guy underneath them. That's, it's not the first time. So I don't think that he should have been able to beat out Sterling Shepard, who is a proven NFL veteran, Darius Slayton, who's proved that he's a good player. Like, you're just not going to supplant those guys in a weekend. It's just not going to happen. And it shouldn't happen that way either. You should earn the spot. So that whole part of it is just a joke.
Tyreek Hill was a punt returner his first couple times in the NFL. Just saying.
I mean, listen, there's a couple things with that. I mean, listen, the whole cleat thing ended up being the fact that for whatever reason, I don't know who screwed this up, equipment manager or somebody, he had the wrong size cleats. They weren't fit his feet right. You know what I'm saying? Like I guess that shit's gonna happen with a rookie in rookie camp, right? I mean, like really. But yet, for whatever fucking reason, I guess because it's New York, this shit all of a sudden starts to get made into somewhat of a big deal. As if we took Toney as the number 1 wide receiver off the board, right? Like, because like I swear to God that the criticism that this dude is getting, the spotlight that's on this fucking guy, as if he was the first wide receiver taken in this NFL draft, which he's not, right? Because you haven't heard a fucking thing about Jamar Chase. You haven't heard fucking shit about Waddle. You haven't heard a fucking thing except for what Giants fans were making fun of at Devontae Smith, only because we're kind of mad that we didn't get him and now he's on the fucking Eagles. But besides that, you haven't heard shit about these fucking guys. Like, it's an absolute fucking joke and riot that there's this much fucking talk and shit going on about this kid Toney. Is he that special? I mean, really, no, seriously, is he that fucking special that they're just waiting for this kid to explode? Because first of all, the other reason with the whole thing with him not being with the first team and him starting with the second team during, of course, these camps, right? Like you said, Mike, this ain't even fucking practice. It's camp, right?
They're playing catch with each other, Jules.
Yeah, for real. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no defense. There's no, they got helmets on. All right. You know,
right.
But the reality is this: when Toney didn't go to those voluntary camp meetings, practices and everything else, he was still at the facility. He still showed up. He still let the coaches know he was there. He probably went and lifted weights and did some other shit. It's not like the dude wasn't around. He was like, look, you guys gave me fucked up cleats in my rookie thing. I just want to sign a contract. I'm going to hang out. Like, I just don't want to run fucking routes to fucking just show you that I can run a route. Right? When we get to like these mandatory OTAs, I'll show up. Then the guy has a family emergency. They're making a big fucking deal about that shit. They're comparing him to Percy Harvin. And the whole thing with him being on working with the second team, that goes back to Coach Judge. Coach Judge makes you earn your way up the ladder. You don't just come in, I don't give a fuck we took you in the first round. We have other guys that have been there for years. We went out and signed Kenny Galladay. We brought in John Ross, all right? We have these other receivers. It's like, bro, he's got to earn his way. He's a fucking rookie, man. Like, that's what you got to do. You got to earn your stripes and earn your way up the fucking ladder. So that's just good. This is all motivation. This all breaks down that bullshit so you don't end up with another Odell Beckham and have that kind of attitude, because this kid's going to fucking now have to earn what he fucking has. And like I said just now a few minutes ago, I just don't understand how you can have this kid being more fucking talked about in the media, social media, all this other shit, more so than any of the fucking other picks. I think I read one thing from Bleacher Report that said Jamar Chase had a fucking good practice. Like, that was it. I didn't hear nothing else. And Waddle might play in the slot. Like, I think the football guys or some shit put that out. Like, that's it. You haven't heard fucking think about these kids. Meanwhile, Toney, it sounds like this dude's been a veteran for 5 years.
Dude, I haven't heard any of that. This is the first time I'm hearing anything about what you just said about these guys. Like, I see Toney up and down the fucking timeline, like, nonstop with this garbage. Who is the fucking beat writer that fucking wrote this? What a fucking
Dan Duggan. I think it's Dan Duggan of the Athletic.
Was it Dan? Dan's usually all right. He's definitely one of the more enjoyable beat writers on for the Giants. There's a long list that that you want to mute.
I mean, I know I've seen his name mentioned a few times. I'm not sure if he's like the one that really kind of stirred the pot, or if he's kind of just been on the defense, because I think he's kind of been back and forth a little bit. I think certain things he kind of went on one end with it, and then the other things he kind of went on the other end to defend it. So I think he's kind of in the same boat as us. But it's just, like I said, to me, I just can't get over the fact that this guy's getting this much fucking media attention and nothing's happened. Like, dude, like, really, like, this is just insane, man. Like, he might not start. That's a fucking fact. We kind of loaded offensively.
He likely won't.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
likely won't.
It's a fucking reality here.
He's not going to be a starter.
Not week one.
He's not going to be a starter. Oh, I could see him being a full-time starter if, God forbid, there's an injury, or next season after Sterling Shepard might not be on the team anymore.
Fair point.
That's it.
Fair point. But listen, I'm glad we're sort of in agreement with that, and I hope that at the very least, while we're recording in mid-fucking June here, right, that everyone realizes, like, that's what's going on with Toney. Chill the fuck out. Let's get the fucking real training camp. Let's get to a fucking preseason game. Let the kid then play. Let's see what he's really got. Let's see where he's fucking going on the depth chart, and we'll kind of go from there. I think that's fucking pretty fair to say, guys, no?
Week one in the preseason, when he does an end around for 80 yards, then people are gonna be like, "Oh, we got to start him. We got to start him ahead of Sterling Shepard and Slayton in week one." Yeah. So
he gets one of those passes over the middle and shit. He takes like a fucking slant route. He fucking breaks a tackle and he fucking takes off an 80-yard gain. Everybody be on his fucking dick the next day.
Out of their mind.
I was always behind him.
Yeah, right. The overreaction on these people are fucking insane, man. I mean, I love it. It's fucking fantastic to me. I mean, no joke. I'm kind of the same way. Like, if Danny Jones comes out and makes one 10-yard completion, I'm like, that's it. Super Bowl. We on fire. Like, it's a wrap, you know? Shit.
Yo, Mike, listen, I feel bad that I cut you off before, man. Like what happened this weekend, bro? I need to get into this shit real quick.
Well, listen, it wasn't really this past weekend. I have to go back the past weekend, the weekend after Memorial Day, when the weather was just fucking phenomenal. The weekend after Memorial Weekend. So, like, I went to a barbecue, and, if I go to a barbecue, I can't stay that long. So I got the dog at the house. I got to get back, let him out. So I got to drink quick, and I got to drink fucking, I have to be, and, I drove, and I'm not advocating drunk driving. Wasn't drunk. I was just banged up a little bit. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm like, all right, I got to find my way home. And you guys, have you ever used the Waze app?
I haven't.
You haven't, but you know what it is, the Waze app.
I know what it is. Yeah, I know it tells you where the cops are. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it tells you where the cops are. It tells you, like, where to fucking go, how to get home, So, basically, like, in settings, I just found this out when I was, in my car waiting to go. I'm like, oh, shit, you could actually record your own voice doing different directions. So
that's weird.
Yeah, I had a phenomenal time with this. Let me tell you, total game changer. All right. I'm like fucking talking shit to myself. I'm like, yo, you're a fucking handsome dude. Make that left right here. You know what I'm saying? Yo, at this roundabout, whatever the fuck that is, you better find your way home, buddy. Like, hey, watch out for the cops. They'll pull you over to get a ticket. Yo, you can record anything you want. And I tell you, for like that, about 45-minute ride home from this fucking barbecue and fucking up in Patterson, man. I had a great time, man. It was fun. I was just laughing the whole fucking ride home, man. So listen, if you have the Waze app, just fucking record yourself. I'll tell you, man, that ride home be so quick, man. But that was my weekend. I got banged up at a fucking like little barbecue. It was phenomenal. All for fucking seltzers, man. It was fucking crazy.
Which ones? Of course, Bud. It has to be. We have to keep promoting it.
I was drinking. Yeah, of course. I was drinking cacti seltzers on that weekend.
Oh,
Cacti
how are those?
Cacti. It's not that bad. It has that like that tequila, like after the blue agave, like the aftertaste to it. So 8%, man. That shit, you drink like 3 of them. You're pretty banged up after that.
I think I had the pineapple one. That's the one.
Pineapple
was pretty decent.
Yeah, pineapple's the best one. They have it in 25-ounce cans, which is just outrageous. Like, if you drink 2 25-ounce cans of that, you're dead. You're just dead meat. Prepared to stay like wherever you are after you drink those 2. You're staying the night. So that was
a lot of beer, bro. Or you said it's hard seltzer.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, everybody's drinking the hard seltzers now.
There's a ton of it in my fridge, but I've only had a couple sips of a couple. I'm not a big drinker, so yeah.
I mean, I still do owe you that case, John, of that bet. Either we got to do double or nothing, or I got to send you that case.
I'll take the case.
That's right. John don't like to bet, so he's getting his case somewhere.
No, I like to bet motherfuckers on Twitter, bro. Just so I can make. They talk all this shit. I make them fucking put their money where their mouth is, and I have active bets with screenshots. I can't wait to collect.
That's receipts right there. Those are receipts.
I don't even want to bet with the casinos. I just want to take dumb motherfuckers' money. That's it.
Why not, right?
Once you start though, betting with the casinos, man, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Listen, Mike, real quick though, I had to notice. I'm just gonna give a quick shout out, even though they're not a sponsor of ours, but it does look kind of interesting. I noticed that if everybody's getting into that salsa, hard, whatever type game, Stewart's, fucking Stewart's, has been around for what, like 100 years, doing ice cream and root beer and black cherry soda and shit.
Right.
They got in the motherfucking game.
They got to
Really?
I'm drinking it right now.
Fuck, man, Stewart's is now in the hard salsa game. Like, this is just too much for me.
It's just, yeah, it's wild. Everybody's gotten to this game. So I'm drinking them right now. I had the root beer. I'm on to the black cherry right now because I got to taste test the competition. I want to see what's out there, who I'm up against. And I tell you, the black cherry is not too fucking bad, man. The root beer was okay. Root beer is all right, but the black cherry is not too fucking bad.
Bro, I think I seen one that remember the iced tea Arizona? Arizona's got a hard one too now.
No.
They got like a hard fruit punch or some shit, bro. I had to try
Yeah,
it.
fruit punch.
Yeah, it was weird, bro. Like, I don't know, man. I was like, what the fuck? It's like it's just it's getting
That's what
insane.
Truly got a fruit punch too. They got
Truly's is good though.
Pack.
Yeah.
They just
I thought you were gonna say like they have like an Arnold Palmer or something like that.
They do actually.
There is
They
one.
do.
Yeah.
Mike's
That's-
Hard and
that sounds
Mike's
a little
Hard and something
appetizing.
else. They got that shit already like covered, bro. It's
Yeah,
like
you
it's
can tell.
absolutely out of control with these things, but they are pretty enjoyable. They are, I guess, like better than light beer if you would at times, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like you got these fucking flavors and everybody gets into it. So why not for the summer?
People
But
like
guys,
to get
one
fucked
of the-
up.
Yeah, for real. And you get fucked up. And you know what? You don't feel as bloated. You know, I feel
Right.
like you guys remember that old school commercial, less filling, great taste, when they used to do that
Yeah,
fucking- when they introduced light beer.
Yep.
I think we'd have to start bringing that shit in for salsa. Less filling,
That's a
great
good
taste.
idea. That's good. You should market fucking for our beer company.
You know, listen, if anybody's listening that works at Stewart's or any other kind of hard salsa, give us a call. We'll shout you
Right.
guys out every episode.
There you go.
Well, yo, listen, guys, moving into our next topic. Adrian Peterson coming to the Giants?
Wow.
Shall we pause for a quick commercial break and get to that topic? What do you guys think?
I think we should, man. So I'm gonna need a minute for that one. All right, guys, we'll be right back with the BBO NYG podcast in 2 seconds. All right, guys, we are back. So, Jules, Adrian Peterson to the Giants. This guy has been everywhere. How old is he? He should have been
36.
retired like 15 years ago. Why is he still playing? Like, people don't even draft him in fantasy football for the last like 10 years. But he's still
But then he
out
always
there.
ends up on somebody's team. It's weird, man. Like I always see him on somebody's team rostered. You know, he was on Detroit last year. He had a couple of decent fucking games too. He had like 80 and 90 yards and a touchdown. Like, it's just fucking amazing, this guy. Like, it really is.
Unbelievable.
You know, one of the things that they're saying is he's 450 yards shy of Barry Sanders for fourth all time. And that's sort of what he's kind of pushing.
Oh,
That's the
All right,
motivation.
so that's kind of why he's hanging around. And Seattle's a team that's kind of getting thrown out there. Maybe, you know, he can give some depth with Penny and all those guys, and of course Chris Carson. And you know, the Giants actually, it's a real thing. Him and Barkley apparently, you know, they work out together. They know each other. You know, Barkley has the utmost respect for him. You know, and because of that, you know, they've kind of created this sort of like, there's. I don't want to say like little brother, let me like, you know, take you under my wing type of thing, but they kind of have that bond off the field. Apparently they work out a lot off field, you know, away from everything. And, you know, Adrian Peterson has said that Barkley has the makings of a Hall of Fame type running back, right? So, you know, this is coming from a guy who will be in the Hall of Fame. You know, it's a shame because, you know, I was looking at some of his numbers and he's at like 1480, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in that neighborhood, where he would literally be 14,800, of course. But, you know, where he's literally just a few hundred yards behind even Frank Gore, right? And the whole reason why I think he won't be able to catch any of these, you know, won't be able to catch Gore at the very least. If you guys go back, remember that one year where he got suspended for the entire season after one game because he fucking whipped his kid with a fucking stick or some shit like that?
yeah.
Listen, look, I don't want to get into the politics behind it, but like to me, look, it was something that happened. And again, I don't want to get into too many details, but it did seem like something that should have not affected his fucking playing career, right? You know, like you wanted to put him up on court charges. His wife wants to sue him, whatever the case may be. Kid wants to fucking be supervised visits. I get all that. Should affect his playing career, but he missed a full season because of that shit. You know, that's like another 1,200 yards. He probably catches up to fucking Gore and would have been finishing around third all time. I mean, I always liked him. I always had him on my fantasy team. I would love to at least see him in a Giants uniform, get a cheap fucking jersey or T-shirt with his name on it. And, you know, it would be cool to see him get that 455 to pass Sanders. But, you know, I don't know, guys. I mean, listen, it's going to lead into Barkley and other things, but thoughts on Adrian Peterson?
Dude, that's very interesting with the Adrian Peterson thing with this. I think they called it what, switches or some shit like that, right?
Switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
the word that they used.
That's the word they. I still can't believe they fucking suspended him for that long for that shit. I mean, he's punishing his own kid, you know, for doing something wrong. I mean, listen, I got spanked as a kid, you know. I'm sure, you know, most people did. If your parents actually gave a fuck about you and didn't want you to act like an asshole, they probably fucking punished you and fucking spanked you, you know. So like that's really like that's tough, man. Because that's his business, that's his family. You know, he's not doing it to like another NFL player in the locker room where he's fucking pulling out his switch and like, hey, you didn't block for me, you asshole, and he fucking starts beating him over the ass with that, you know. So like, dude, Jules, I totally forgot about it. That's kind of fucked up. Like I tell you, man, the kids nowadays, like you see all over the social media and how they act, they need to get hit with a switch. You know, they need that.
Advocating violence. I love it. I don't mean to laugh about the subject, obviously, for anybody who's, you know, a little sensitive to it, but we don't know to what degree, you know, the actual episodes are. We don't have details of exactly what went down. So, you know, it's hard to pass judgment, discipline versus abuse, whatever. But as far as from the Giants' perspective, I mean, Saquon Barkley, he grew up watching Adrian Peterson. His two favorite running backs, as far as like I remember him being quoted, was Adrian Peterson and Barry Sanders. He, you know, models his game after Barry Sanders, and to a degree, Adrian Peterson. So it will be cool. I know that they have that relationship, that kind of like distant mentor-mentee type, like protege type deal. Is he coming here? I would be like literally stunned, and it would alarm me, because that would probably indicate that Saquon might not be as healthy, ready to go for the beginning of the season as, you know, we're expecting him to be. I think he's going to be full go. I think if they want him to touch the ball 23 times week one, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I don't think you're going to see him anywhere next to a field until then, on preseason or anything else. You know, behind closed doors probably will be it. But as far as like helmet on, pads on, let's go. I think he should be healthy. And if Adrian Peterson gets signed, probably an indication that maybe he's not where he needs to be.
You know, I did a lot of thinking on it, right? Because I was definitely on the Saquon bandwagon, you know, and even to the point where, you know, I do a lot of that fantasy football, and I'm like, yo, dude, if people want to sleep on him this season, fuck it. All the more for me, bro. I'm all over my man. Fuck that. He's a Giant. He's from Penn State. I love it. But the reality is this, right? You know, you have a guy who's still really young. He's still got he's got better seasons ahead of him than he does behind him at this current point in his career, right? And the reality is he's coming off of a big ACL tear, you know, that knocked him out for the entire season, right? And we got an extra game this year, fellas. You know, right? Like, you got to play 17 now, right? Why rush him back, right? Like, in other words, like you said it, John, like, yo, well, you're right. He's probably not going to sniff the field in fucking preseason. And yes, he may be physically, because he's a physical specimen, or that like just is like defies fucking normal shit. But he might be 100% ready to go for game one. But it doesn't mean I want him touching the ball 20 times. You know what? And look, it's great to know that we have, you know, Devontae, aka Booker T, and Corey Clement, and we have even Raquel Armstead that are all signed. And then we drafted Gary Brightwell. That, you know, we're not relying on trying to pick up guys like I joked about off the street with Devontae Freeman and all the other guys from last season. Like, we had to go through that shit. That's not going to be the case. Look, I would be perfectly fine if the first month of the season, Barkley only maybe got somewhere in the neighborhood of like 12 to 16 touches a game. That's fine. Totally fucking fine. Let him break one off, man. He still might get it. Look, if we see him getting stronger and healthy as the season progresses, then fuck it. We start moving on into moving other things. And that's just how it is. Like, let him get into it slowly. With all the other offensive additions, there's no reason to have to put the fucking pressure on him and have to make it so that he's going to have 20 plus carries, 5 catches out of the backfield. He has to go for 100 yards. He has to score a touchdown or two. Like, fuck that. There's no fucking reason for it. The only way I would say that maybe that progression gets pushed along a little sooner is if the Giants offense is still kind of sputtering. These other backs that we have just can't get it done. You know, they're not hitting the hole properly. You could just see things being dropped, box being missed, shit like that. Yeah, all right. If that's the case, then without a doubt that maybe he gets pushed along. But you start adding all this depth, and man, you bring in someone like Adrian Peterson, you know what he just does to that whole backfield? He becomes like a coach almost, in a sense, where if Barkley's one of his biggest sort of criticisms, rather, is that the fact that his pass blocking isn't superb as the rest of his game is, you know, Adrian Peterson's the perfect guy to kind of show him how he can get that shit done.
I'm hoping that like we hear like Barkley's a full go for the season. He can, you know, he could definitely, if he wants to, he could go for 25 carries a game. But I'm hoping the Giants actually play it smart and they limit him.
But that might not be necessarily smart, though. It like that could be just over hypochondriac, over cautious. If the guy's healthy, the guy's healthy.
That's your franchise guy, John.
Like I hear you, but I mean, if he's healthy, he's healthy.
But like Jules was saying, 17 games, it's a longer season, and we're going to the playoffs, so count as it's 20 games.
I think
20 games.
I think the best thing that could happen for multiple obvious reasons, if the Giants can get out to early leads, and kind of put some distance with that defense that they have there, you know, you may not, maybe you give Barkley halves off. You know, it's 24-7 going into the second half. Maybe, you know, he doesn't come back into the game, but for a couple of plays here and there, if they need him for the first couple of months of the season or whatever, or the first, you know, few weeks of the season. But I think if you're questioning his availability and his workload, I think if he's not, that means he's probably not 100%. If he's not 100%, he shouldn't probably play at all. I think honestly, if we can probably get by for a week or two without him. I mean, we're playing Washington week 2, so I would much rather him be on the field. But I think, again, the kid's mad young. It's been basically when the season starts to be a full year. He's already running around. You've seen a couple videos of this and that of him working out, and I can't fathom him not being ready to go. I think not that I can't fathom it. Unless there's a setback, I think this might be all for naught. I think he's gonna be fine.
I think, you know, if they do baby him, I can see them doing, like maybe keep him as like a third down back in the beginning of the year because he runs, catches, you know, he's that threat. I could see them doing that in the very beginning of the year, maybe the first 2 games of the year, and then maybe like letting him loose. I mean, listen, I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping he's a full go. Like, let's go. This is the time. You're young. You're back. You're healthy. Let's go. But I don't know. I just don't. I don't know if that's exactly the smart approach.
See, but that's the other thing too, right? I don't know necessarily that he's not full go. He isn't full go. I don't know if that's even a question. I think it's more along the lines that come December, you know, come November, whatever the case, you know, when we start having to play those division games right around Thanksgiving, they want Barkley to be 100% then. I don't give a fuck if he's 100% day 1, game 1, or at 95%, right? The Giants want him to be 100% for that Thanksgiving turnaround when we got to play the Eagles 2 times in that run. We got to play everyone in the division again. And we're coming down for that crunch time where those are going to be some really decisive games that'll probably determine who wins that NFC East title, right? And that's where you want him to be 100%. So, it's not babying him along. It's the wear and tear. I mean, look, why do you think that so many of these teams, with the exception of when you have, you know, an outstanding running back in a Barkley, right? They start going to these 1-2 punches, right? You know, Corey Clement, Booker T, these guys are known to be pass catching backs, right? They could take a little bit of pressure off of it where he doesn't have to be down on passing downs. You know, 3rd and 12, we don't need him in there anymore. 3rd and 8, you could take Barkley out for a play or two and let one of these other guys get in there and then pull Barkley back in. You know, it's just a sort of way to kind of rotate that and just like let him get more, you know, more seasoned, more of his legs under him. So he's just not trying to create. Because I think that a lot of times or at least in my opinion, with these last couple of injuries that we've seen of Barkley, it's because he felt that he had to get that first down. He had to get those extra yards. He's trying to create. He's hopping over guys. He's spinning. He's dancing. He's doing all this crazy shit, which I still want to see from him, but not in the manner of where he feels he has to do it, more along the ways of when, he's got one of those safeties coming in and he knows he can jump over to do it. And he does that. It's just a spectacular play, or, he fakes some guy out and he leaves him cemented in the ground, right? When it's one of those type of things, more so than when he's like, fuck, I got 2 defenders around me. I got to get 7 yards out of this instead of taking it 3 or 4. And I think that's where this would kind of play into more where we can kind of limit him from having to do all that kind of shit. And again, having Galladay and taking a Toney and all that kind of shit is going to help in that process.
I wonder how much of this you have to also not play the physical, but play the mental as well. I think you got to realize from his perspective, his whole life, because there's never a doubt in this kid's mind that he was going to be a football player. How great of one he was going to be in the NFL was just a question. Was it going to be, a legendary career, what could have been career, or, whatever. I can't picture being him, being that level of competitor, having that kind of like demon inside of you, having one kind of like quench for your thirst. And because they're scared for you to get hurt, you're sitting on the sidelines more than you need to be. How does that not get into your head then? And how does that not let you change a little bit mentally and then in turn physically, and potentially create a problem where maybe there's not one? Football is the type of game where you got to play it 100%. You just have to. There's no 80. There's no, you don't, you got to just be a beast. That's all there is. You got to play with your foot on the gas, and there's no other way around it. I don't know. I hear what you guys are saying. I mean, it makes sense. You got a fucking Ferrari in the driveway. You're not using it to commute just because. I get it. But situationally, you want to try to take him out when you can spell him. But I don't know. I feel like you use a second overall pick on this kid, man. He's one of the most gifted human beings physically that our generation has seen on a field or a court or anything else. I want to fucking see the kid play, man. He wants to play. And you know what? If the football gods have an injury-riddled career ahead of them, for us, for him, then shame on them, because they're denying the world and fans everywhere a really spectacular like feat of human, whatever you want to call athleticism, like that. What this kid can do on a field with his bot, it's incredible. And I don't know. I want to see this kid play. I want to see him play with his foot on the fucking gas. And I want him to abuse people and dominate and embarrass every single person who's doubted him, Dave Gettleman, with his fucking uniform.
See, John, like, listen to your take on it. Now it's like swaying me to that. Like, I'm like torn, to be honest. It's like, yeah, I want to see all that. But at the same token, I'm like, God, I want to protect him because I don't want to see my man get hurt again like that. But it's football. Like, you're going to, no matter what, like something could happen any fucking play. It's football, shit happens. So do you just let him go out there? Like, listen, if you're fully healthy, like, let it rip. Let's go. Like, you know what I mean? You can't keep him in a bubble, I guess. So maybe you're right. Maybe just fucking let him loose. But then at the same time, I'm like, damn, if we do play 20 games, I want my man to have fresh legs. I want him to be fucking 100%. I want to fucking ride him into the playoffs. I want him running for 150 yards or 200 yards total in the fucking playoffs each round. I want him to be that weapon. So, yeah, man, like, man, it's tough, man. It's tough. Whatever they do, I know that this giant coaching staff, they'll do it right. So I have confidence and I have faith in them.
I was thinking about this before too, and we can it'll get to Daniel Jones, but I think they can still limit his production, or limit him being on the field, but not like early in the season, so to speak, more just early in the games, because there's a fairly decent chance that this offense clicks and can score points on teams, and the defense is going to be as good as it was last year, where they're holding guys. Where, like I said, quarter 3, quarter 4, we might be up a few touchdowns and we can just chill. You know what I mean? It's not that. There's a huge drop off to Devontae Booker, whoever's going to, even if it's a 36-year-old Adrian Peterson, you need Barkley. You want Barkley on the field, obviously, but I think there's going to be opportunities for him to kind of get breathers throughout games, throughout the weeks where we don't have to, say, oh, well, you're going to be only third downs or whatever to start off the season. But that's the thing, if he's fully healthy. But I will say this, with last year, if you look at Andrew Thomas, all season he played through an injury. Darius Slayton, all season, played through an injury. Daniel Jones got hurt, came back within a week. I don't think this coaching staff is scared to play guys when they're not 100.000%. I think if they're 95, they're this or that, they can play. I think they're going to be on the field. So that gives me even more reason to think that Saquon's going to be playing.
Listen, they also say, too, with the ACL tears, MCL tears, and all that kind of shit, it's about a year to fully get back to full strength. And that's right on target there, man. You figure
same week.
It was game 2, right? Like, even if he just goes slow for the first 3 weeks, and then game 4, we start revving it up a little bit from there and start, like, progressing with reps and everything moving forward, they will. And as far as Adrian Peterson's concerned, as much as I'd like it, I don't see the reality of him coming to this team simply because one of the main reasons why he's hanging on and wants to play one more year is he's trying to pass Barry Sanders. He needs about 450 yards in order to pass him on the all-time rushing list. And I think that's going to be more of his focus than being able to play with a guy that he respects or playing on a team that he might respect. I think he may want to be a little more selfish and go to a team where he'll actually get and be that sort of like,
Starter.
What do they call it? No, not even necessarily starter, where change the pace running back and putting the veteran in there, maybe sitting on a lead type of thing for like that kind of team. That's where I believe like, certain teams, like I mentioned, I think earlier, Seattle, things like that, he could end up with. But one thing that's interesting, because the Giants do have about 6 running backs currently on the roster, which, of course, some guys will end up on the practice squad and everything else. So, I mean, we are rather deep in that position this year. It's nothing like remotely close to what last year was when we had to bring in guys like Alfred Morris and Devontae Freeman, which is just a joke to begin with. But one interesting thing that we talked about before the show was that we do have this guy. Now, John, you're going to have to help me with his last name because I'm terrible with last names. It's Sandro
Plotzkummer. Sandro Plotzkummer.
My man is 24 years old out of Austria, right? And he's actually part of the shit, which is pretty fucking cool. He's part of what they call the International Player Pathway Program that was actually around. It was literally around back in 2004 through 2009. And I don't know, for whatever reason, it just didn't. I guess that's when we started with the London Games. And, as we've kind of mentioned in the last few weeks with some of our guests, this is an ever-growing sport, not only in the UK, Ireland, but also in different parts of Europe, right? We talked about Germany. There's a few other different countries that this is really starting to expand to. They're trying to bring in more Canadian players. They're also trying to bring this to Mexico and show some games in like Mexico City. So this is definitely something that's coming into play. And they reinstated this International Pathway Program back in 2017. And this guy Sandro happens to be a player that's part of it, and he's with it. And they're trying to not only, grow the sport globally as far as viewership is concerned, but they're also starting to try to bring in some real players. Like they're, with the NFL Europe and all this is really becoming a real thing. Where that, maybe in 5 to 10 years we may see something along the lines of what we see in the NBA, where there are these big European stars, or there are these guys that, grew up in Montreal or Toronto or something like that. And they just, went to school and college up there. And then all of a sudden they are good enough to play in the NFL. It's just that they've been playing in the Canadian League. They're trying to introduce this. So it's kind of a cool thing. It's great to see that that's how much this sport is actually starting to grow.
Well, we did say the whole fucking sport is growing a couple weeks ago, like all over fucking our guests. I mean, our guests that we had on the past few weeks are all over the world, overseas, across the pond, like watching the game. So why wouldn't, these guys that growing up watching the sport practice, learn, get better at it, and come here to play in the NFL because that's their dream. That's where they want to go. So, like, hey, man, NFL is just like, it's just global. It's just global now. So you're gonna start seeing like the NBA with like these European like Luka Doncic, playing phenomenal, coming over here playing. So you're gonna see that a lot more in the NFL.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I don't know how many players, because I think a big thing with football, you have to. It's a sport that you have to continuously learn, and I don't know that those other places are going to have the level of competition that's going to really kind of forge greatness from another place for the time being. Maybe, like you said, 5-10 years, we can start getting some serious players from overseas. But I think like being able to, grow up in, high school, competitive high school and college football is a huge help to getting to the NFL. If you don't have that, like, in different places, I don't know, you can get the same quality players out of it. Basketball, obviously, there's levels of of competition there that not rival the NBA, but would probably rival, let's say, college, where they don't have that really in Europe and other places like that. But it's pretty cool though. I don't know that his roster spot actually counts towards the 53. It's either the 90 or the 53 that his roster spot doesn't count against. So he's just hanging out the last couple of years, learning football, and it'd be cool to see him get. I'm sure maybe one day we'll see him get a jersey, maybe on special teams, something like that. Maybe he gets a couple of, a couple touches in a game late in the season if we got the division wrapped up. But it's a pretty cool story though.
Yeah, it's more of the story than anything else. It's kind of why I led off the show with the whole World Cup thing. You go back to 1994 when the United States hosted the World Cup. Before then, there was nobody in this fucking country unless you were like probably of either from like South American descent or European descent paying attention to fucking anything soccer. I mean, let's just fucking be real. Unless your family was from more, like various countries from around the globe like that, chances are you weren't. And it was like 94 that kind of kicked off MLS, and then the whole appeal of soccer kind of like really grew within this country. And it took, about 10 years from there before we actually started putting out some halfway decent teams. They're not really that on that level, but you know what? There are some soccer players from the United States playing in Europe, playing for some major fucking programs. So the return aspect of it and having some of these guys that, maybe played rugby growing up, but are a big dude that know how to block, and they just got to learn how the offensive scheme. And they're not they're not like a dummy. They're a small person. It might take them a year or two to get acclimated, but then they're in, and you have these guys that, could kick the ball. Maybe you find some kickers and punters and shit like that, in the very beginning. And then when the popularity continues to grow like it is, you'll see these other sports being introduced more and more in the UK and other parts of Europe, where it actually you'll start to see these players develop. And it might take more than 5 to 10 years. It might be somewhere it's 15 years from now. But you're going to start putting NFL Europe in play and all these other different types of things. You'll start seeing European players in the NFL for certain. It might even get to a point, and it'd be crazy, but like, shit, you might see round 3, they're going to get this guy, Lucas Gianni from fucking Italy. He's going to play like a left tackle or some shit, you know what I'm saying, in the 3rd round. Wow. You never know, bro. I'm just saying, like, that could be something you see happen in the future. But it's just pretty cool, and it kind of tied in with World Cup and the past guests that we had on. But as far as that's concerned, guys, one thing I hear a lot from fucking listeners and friends and everything else is that, we're sometimes too much homers, and I agree. And I try not to be, and you guys definitely take the cake on me a little bit more so, but, why don't we try something different for everyone today? Why don't we, because we've been hearing a lot of shit, a lot of talk about how the Giants are going to suck. I mean, shit, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was DraftKings actually has us put out for being one of the top bottom 10 teams this season. Now, I know. I can see Richard already, man. Like, can you believe that DraftKings has us picked to finish like 7th or 8th this year? Before we get into trying a new thing, I mean, is that just not ridiculous of a statement right there?
I wonder how much of it, man, is them trying to create a narrative and influence money elsewhere. Maybe they know the opportunity with this division being that, there's a fairly decent portion of the population that looks at it as a three-team race. Maybe Vegas knows that the Giants are a better team and do have much more potential than the others, but because they're really looked at as an underdog, why don't they lean into it, drive all the money to Washington, drive all the money to Dallas, and then when all those people lose because the Giants win the division, they get to keep all that cash. I'm making conspiracy theorists, but if I was fucking collecting money on people's ignorance, I would fucking be doing exactly that.
What happens when you have all the crazy Giants fans like us, though, and hopefully if they've been listening,
that's
start
one market
on that.
that's one market, though. That's only one market with 31 other teams, plus, as you know, with all the international betting and all that stuff, which I'm sure goes on. I mean, that's a huge amount of people. That means it's a multiple $100 billion business, sports betting. So you got a lot of different people, a lot of different markets kind of funneling money into Vegas, and that's in that way. Who's to say that they're not, leaning into this public perception that Giants aren't good and they're driving the money? I'm just saying there's no evidence to deny that theory.
No, I listen. That makes a lot of sense actually, because you're right. If you're gonna hedge your bet, right? Why not pump up like two other teams, right? You get two fan bases betting against it. You'll get some doubters in the other two fan bases, in the Giants and the Eagles, right? Where you have those guys being like, man, everybody keeps putting us there. Like, what the fuck? I guess we are gonna suck. I'm not gonna bet. And then you only have maybe a small portion of the one fan base trying to cash in. But I did say we were not going to be homers, so I think maybe we should pause for a quick commercial break, right? And when we come back, we'll try to give an opinion as to why maybe this could be true and Giants aren't fucking, as good, and we might have to finish in the top 10, the bottom 10 again this season.
I may need 20 minutes before I jump off a bridge. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. So, Jules, what exactly do we have to do here?
All right. So I hear, like I said, I hear a lot of times that, we could be too much of homers, right? And look, I was even listening to a fantasy football show because I do the baseball and all that shit. So like, in between baseball, once in a while, I'll listen in. I hear who's looking good in like all these OTAs and camps and shit like that, just to kind of get that little bit of an early edge in fantasy football. And I literally heard a couple of guys that I listened to, and I'll leave their names out of it for now, but they were literally just like, man, I don't know if I could trust Saquon Barkley as a top 4 running back. That team sucks. Wow. And it's like the other dude's not even disagreeing. And like then I turn on another channel and it's like, well, who knows what kind of volume Kenny Galladay is really going to get, and that hurts his receiving. And it's like, now you're even hearing this shit from fantasy, right? You hear this shit from fantasy. DraftKings, as I mentioned earlier, literally has got us finishing in the bottom 10. Experts have us finishing. Some even have us finishing but fucking behind the Eagles in the division. Like, there's all this shit going on, and yet we sit here and we sell all the time on why we think that that's not the case and how we're going to fool and shock a lot of people. But let's take ourselves out of that for a moment, and let's just say we were Eagle or fucking Cowboy or Washington fans, and we were looking at this season, right? That you don't have to say which one, just a fan of the NFC outside of the Giants, right? And take a quick moment and look at this team and be like, well, what the fuck are we not seeing that is actually going on that other teams may be seeing as to why the Giants will finish maybe 3rd or 4th in this division this year?
God, I want to kill
myself. There
you go. I can't say I'm a fan of of an NFC East team. I'm gonna have to say I'm a fan of Kansas City. I'll go to AFC, and I'm looking in on the Giants. I just can't do that to myself. I feel dirty. I feel like a whore. I feel like a whore. I can't.
That's right.
So
do this with some dignity. That's right.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. I want to cry right now. But if I'm like a Kansas City team or say a Tampa Bay team, I don't want to face this Giants team because a lot of it is unknown. Because every year we always get that one team that comes out of nowhere and it surprises the NFL. It always happens every year. So I could see the Giants being that team because they do have weapons and you don't know where they're gonna hit you. Like if you're a team and you're an offensive team and you got to go against this defense, you're like, shit, man, they're gonna Patrick Graham's, he's gonna design plays. I don't know where it's gonna come. It's gonna be tough, real tough for opposing offenses to go against this defense. I'm telling you guys right now, because just looking at the team, as an unbiased opinion, how do you go against the secondary? It's a passing league, and you're gonna try to tell me you're gonna have success passing against these guys? I do not see it happening. And I don't think a lot of people, even Vegas, are giving us credit because they know people are going to bet Dallas. They know that. Every year, Dallas gets all the fucking money fed to them because it's fucking the Cowboys, So that's where the money's going to go.
Out.
Oh, we lost Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
We'll pause for a quick station identification. No, I'm kidding.
Listen.
There you go. You're back.
Okay, I'm back. All right, the internet connection is unstable for some reason. Am I good right now?
Yeah, you're good, man.
Where did I get cut off at? Where I was saying Dallas is
Everybody
getting all
betting
the money?
Dallas, yeah.
All right, so Dallas is gonna get the money, right? So now Vegas knows that, and then where else is the money gonna go? To the last team that won the division last year was the Washington Redskins, or whatever they call it now, the NFL Washington team, some stupid shit like that. So they're gonna get their money from there, and nobody's betting the Eagles because it's hurts. They have chaos going on. Their team is just fucking done. So and the Giants are like, yeah, nobody knows about the Giants. Nobody's going to bet them. So Vegas knows that. So now, if people bet the Giants, they're going to make a killing on betting the Giants to win the division, go to the NFC Championship game, win the Super Bowl, because that's all that's happened. I can't say I'm biased. I can't do it. It's not in my soul, Jules. I can't. That's how I'm looking at it. What about you, John?
I think a huge portion of this just comes down to humanity as a whole not really being super intelligent. So the majority the majority of people can really just look at things in small pieces, depth and complicated and things being complicated, context, variables, all that stuff goes over a lot of people's heads. So for a huge portion of NFL fans, that's going to be exactly the case. So when you look at 11 touchdowns from Daniel Jones, when you look at Leonard Williams had one good season, if you just look at stats. Meanwhile, he's been top 5 among defensive tackles in pressures and quarterback hits. Right behind Aaron Donald and those guys up there have been in literally the elite tier. You don't look into those things. All you look at is it's sacks. Boom, period, stop. And that's just a microcosm of stupidity. That's just what it is. So when you look at things like that and you're not invested in actually understanding what's going on, the intricacies of the team, a lot of stuff's going to get lost in the wash. Football's a very complicated game. When you look at 31st, where they have us as the 32nd ranked offensive line, that makes no sense whatsoever. But the point of it is it sells. All they look at is, they only had 7 or 19 points a game, 17 points a game, whatever it was. So they believe it, boom, and that's it. That's the biggest part of it. You have to actually look and understand what you're looking at to be able to say, okay, so there was 5 offensive linemen on the team last year. One was new at right tackle. The right guard was there from the previous season. Great. The center was playing a new position as a second-year player. The left guard was apparently playing hurt, and then also obviously had COVID, and we had a rookie in there for the majority of the season. And then left tackle, we had a rookie in there. Okay, so when you talk about brand new offensive linemen, would you say they start out at their ceiling or their floor? Okay, they start out at their. So you have to actually think things through. I couldn't even get through talking about all the different topics to be able to understand why this team is actually going to be a very good team. If all you're capable of looking at is it's touchdowns, it's this, it's that, that's what you're going to end up getting out of it. So I understand why public perception is the way it is. I don't understand why our fans think that we're going to be a bottom 10 team, but there are a lot of people in the last year or 2 years have kind of come around, and especially the last this offseason. After this offseason, I think a lot of our fan base is more pulling for the team. But that's what I think it comes down to. If I'm a fan of a different team, I'm looking at 11 touchdowns. I'm looking at defensive line. They have no pass rush whatsoever. Azeezul Ojulari, he's the 50th pick in the draft. He was the third guy. All these different things, you can just give yourself reasons as to why they're not going to be good. But when you look at what it actually is, it tells a completely different story. A story I can't wait for people to start reading in September.
It's funny, Mike. It's I liked your approach, right? Where you said, fuck taking an NFC East team. You're right. Fuck taking an NFC East team. and because I am such a homer when it comes to New York, right? I can't take the Bills because they've had too much success in the last season. So I'll have to look at this almost from a perspective of a Jets fan. Right? Because I hear a lot of shit from them, actually. You know what I mean? Jets fans are starting to chirp around as if they don't think that their team is that much different from the Giants, right? So it's a very good perspective. And I can get it to a certain extent. Let's be real, right? Yes, we do football. Yes, we're into the draft. Yes, we're into all this type of shit where we are sort of extra sort of devoted fans because we like learning about our opposition more so just as much as we do our own team, so that when we run into fan bases, we can talk shit about them. When we're getting ready to play these teams, we're ready to go against them. So that's kind of where we're at. And I think a lot of this comes from a lot of the casual fan. It doesn't follow this kind of shit. May know that we drafted a guy named Toney in the first fucking round. Maybe they know Ojulari as a second round pick, but excuse me, they don't know the significance behind that. They don't know the impact that these type of guys had in college because they don't watch college football, right? So you have a lot of that. And I think that's what, even where the Giants fan base is kind of in play with that, where there's quite a lot of that Giants fan base, especially on Twitter, that is a part of that kind of like, sort of a story there where they don't watch college football. They don't understand the fucking significance these guys had and the type of impact players they can have. So now you just look at it from the outside in, right? And you can literally sit there and say, okay, well, the Jets just let go of this guy, Sam Darnold, who literally kind of might have better numbers technically than Daniel Jones right now. No, this is right. Here we go. Right. Let's be real. Right. Technically, on a piece of paper, he might have better numbers than him. Right. And it's a stretch, but he kind of does. Less turnovers, more touchdowns, all that kind of shit, because he did have a pretty productive season. And then you talk about this defense that the Giants have. Right. And yet you guys got blown the fuck up by Arizona and Baltimore towards the end of last season. You shut down Cleveland, fine, big fucking deal. And then you played fucking Dallas without Dak Prescott and a fucking kind of like iffy Ezekiel Elliott who lost all his confidence and shit, right? So like you could start attacking the defense from that way. And people don't know who the fuck Adoree Jackson is. Like, yeah, if you follow it and you realize that he's a top corner and the Giants went out and had to recruit him and sign him, and we made him part of the secondary that is actually loaded, yeah, you don't fucking know who it is. You're like, yo, the Jets secondary is pretty much almost as good. As a matter of fact, you want to start talking pass rush, the Jets might have a better pass rush than the Giants currently as far as last year is concerned, right? So you start hearing these different things, and it's like, well, granted that maybe Dallas wasn't running with the division, but they were scoring some fucking points, and all they did was go out and get defensive players, and they're going to have a healthy Dak Prescott. They're going to have CeeDee Lamb a year further. Yeah, why wouldn't they be the favorite, right? And now you have Washington defending fucking NFC East champs, right? What the fuck, man? Their defense is stout. They went and got Curtis Samuel. They got Ryan Fitzpatrick, which is an upgrade at quarterback. You Giants got your fucking hands full. You got to play Kansas City, New Orleans this year. You got to play fucking teams like Vegas that were somewhat competitive. Now you got to play the rest of the NFC and your division. Shit. I could see this. I could see the Giants fall and they finish with another shit year. They win 6-7 games maybe, and they're picking fucking 8th overall this year. Right? It's a crazy fucking scenario, but I think I've thrown out some fucking numbers there and some fucking things that if I'm not a Giants fan, I don't give a fuck, right? And listen, I'm gonna stick with the Jets for one more thing. The Jets fans are saying that Elijah Moore is gonna be better than Toney. Another guy that was drafted, he was fucking one of the top receivers taken in the second round. Taken where you don't hear shit about this guy. Apparently he had like a decent practice, I think, or some shit. He didn't lose his fucking cleats. He's not leaving fucking and missing out on OTAs, right? So like, I get it. Now, whether or not I believe it, it's something completely else. However, you could analyze some of this shit and really break it down. And then, of course, the development of Daniel Jones and the offensive line, right? We didn't draft an offensive lineman, man. What the fuck are you guys thinking? Your offensive line ranked in the fucking bottom half of the NFL last year, and you don't even sign anybody? You guys are dummies, bro. You're going to be getting rushed by that fucking Washington team and sacked, and Daniel Jones is going to be running for his fucking life. It's going to be terrible. All right, I think I did my part.
Man, that's a lot. Listen, I mean, yeah, sure, the Jets wide receiver could have a better year than Toney because the Jets will probably be passing like nonstop the whole fucking game. So of course he's gonna get like racked up yards. So like I don't buy into any of that fucking garbage, Jules. Like, it's a waste of time for me. Fuck the Jets.
Oh, did we lose John? Oh, we might have lost John on his audio for a moment there. I know he was trying to get in a comment.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was muted. I was saying Sam Darnold's never had a season like Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a much better quarterback than him. The numbers even show it. He said 3 seasons, 2 of them he didn't even complete 60% of his passes. He's never thrown 20 touchdowns in a season. He has 40-something touchdowns and 37 interceptions. Plus he's got 20-something fumbles. Like he's not been anywhere near Daniel Jones. Just want to make that clear.
But now we got Zach Wilson. This kid's a stud out of BYU, bro.
You know what's funny about the Jets, man? I feel like every time they do something that's like kind of correlates to what the Giants, Giants Cowboys, it's always one notch below. You know, like Eli Manning, Chad Pennington, like Phil Simms, Boomer Esiason when he was over here. Like just Leonard Williams, he's over there, comes over here, ends up being a good player. Dexter Lawrence versus Quinnen Williams. Dexter Lawrence has obviously been the better player. You know what I mean? They were talking about, we got Lev Bell. Lev Bell's already gone. Couldn't wait to get out of here. We have Saquon Barkley. Like Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold. Daniel Jones has already shown that he's you could have way more faith in him than Sam Darnold. At this, it's just funny how they're always comes up second place. Always. One Super Bowl to 4. That number's only going to grow too. It's going to be like 7 or 8 by the time fucking decade's over. But
like I said, I think the only thing that really could truly derail the Giants this season, as far as them finishing within the bottom 10, is injuries. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Injuries and the development of Daniel Jones, right? I think if something goes south in one of those two areas and badly, then obviously the Giants will be affected. I mean, you take a look at San Francisco last year. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, and then they're fucking trading up to fucking get a quarterback in the first round with the 3rd overall pick, right? And they literally had that bad of a year, and that's how quickly things can turn around in the NFL with just a few injuries. So, it's just something to kind of keep in mind. Look, it's going to be a fun, competitive year. I don't think that we're necessarily, and I'll be honest, I at this point in time, maybe I got to see some spring, I was going to say some spring football, but I think I got to see some preseason shit like that first. But look, I don't think we're going to bulldoze the division. I think we could win the division, but I don't think we're going to, sweep all 3 teams and, go 6-0 in the NFC East and fucking win another 4 games outside the, outside our division. And all of a sudden we got 11 wins just like that. I think it's going to be a little hard earned, and week 2 is going to say a lot when we go to Washington, and we'll really see what kind of football team we have when we get there.
Can't wait.
I mean, you're right, but like you said, injuries is what's going to stop this team. It's not going to be. Listen, if Daniel Jones is the identical quarterback as he was in 2020, this team is going to be a 10-11 win team, right? Because when you talk about how good a quarterback is, you don't look at the stats. You look at him. That's what player evaluation means to anybody who's got any questions about it. So if he's the same level of quarterback, he can make those throws, read the defense just the way that he was. Not any more gifted, not any more skilled, not any more practice, not any more better in any way. Just the same quarterback with the weapons that we have now. Instantly, this is a 10-11 win team. If he gets better, that's how we get to the Baker's dozen.
Right.
Agreed.
I agree.
And guess what? We have Joe Judge as a coach, as our head coach. So again, when you talk about player development, which for some reason I'm getting static on Twitter about, that's like a fucking fairy tale for some reason, that people don't think that people get better, which is just mind numbing. But if you believe in Joe Judge as a coach, player development's part of it.
It's like coaching don't matter or something like in this world.
Yeah, like they come out, they're video game ready, boom, put them in, and see you later.
Right.
Like, I don't even understand. How do you watch this sport year after year, weekend after weekend, and not learn anything?
I don't know.
Why are you spending the time doing it? I don't understand. What's the point of the hobby if you're not even going to just try to learn? Like, just look at more than the scoreboard. Just like watch it fucking blows me away. I'm sorry.
You know what I really think it is, guys, and I think that it may have taken us talking during this episode that actually literally kind of put it out there for me. You know what I think it really is? You know why I think guys like Kadarius Toney are getting buzz and Ojulari and all this shit's going on and all this talk about Daniel Jones, and they're trying to, get the Giants split and divided, half the fan base going one way, the other half going another. I'm going to tell you what it is, because we kind of mentioned it earlier tonight. They don't know what to expect from the Giants, right? And if you keep this fucking team relevant, right? And think of it this way, right? If you keep the team relevant and we suck and we do go off the rails and we only win 6 games, I fucking told you so. I told you they were going to suck. They got so many holes. They should have drafted this. They should have done that. They should have never took a running back 10 years ago in the second pick. Blah, 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 blah. But if they start fucking winning games and they're fucking contending and they're down the stretch and they're beating some big teams. Well, we knew that they were like a piece or two away.
Yep.
Look at the way they developed.
That's
And
it.
look at the whole line coming together. We saw the pieces in place. We
That's
just didn't know they could do it. So that's why the fucking Giants have always been fucking talked about. And that's the whole reason why people can't get their fucking team name out of their fucking mouths, all right? So get the fuck off our dicks. We're coming in 2021, all right? I need to come correct because I was just trying to play a little devil's advocate a few minutes ago. But that's the fucking reality.
Yo, we back. Big Blue is back. Everybody better recognize out there. All division, NFC East, you're on alert, man. Dallas, we're coming for you. Washington, we're coming for you. Philly, you're done. It's a wrap. Big Blue, baby, all day. Fuck these beat writers. They don't know shit. Fuck all these dumb fans, all the haters. All the haters that saying like, 2018, wasting a number 2 pick on Barkley. Fuck you. You don't know shit. Fuck you about Daniel Jones. Yeah, I could go on and on about these fucking trolls, man. They are not fans. They are haters. Fake ass fans. FAFs.
They're like we said, they don't realize that they're not Giants fans, they're Giants followers. Fake ass fans, man. That's what it is. Like I said, I don't even care about betting like online, like on the apps. Like I'm in Jersey, I could download the app and fucking do it if I wanted to. I think the money taking it, if not that I really even care if these people ever pay me, but just being able to send that screenshot back to them in fucking the November, December and just brag through the whole season, just saying, bro, your fucking money is mine. You ready? Like just rubbing it in. It's just going to feel so fucking good.
Yeah, whoever don't pay, I want their names. We shout them out on the podcast every day. I want your address, man. We take a ride down there. We get that money, man. No doubt.
Oh my god. It's gonna be fun, man. We're only a few weeks away at this point. I know we do like a time check every few weeks we mention it, but I mean it's mid-June already, man. We got like 2 episodes left of June, 3 in July, and then it's boys are back in town, man. We're fucking training camp and preseason's here, and then it's all systems go. I can't fucking wait. Respect the God of God.
Wow. 2 episodes, man, and we're here. Holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It's pretty crazy, man. Time goes too fast. We're halfway through 2020. Yeah, we got 2 episodes left of June after this, 22nd, 29th, and then in July starts training camp.
Wow. Well, listen, I'll tell you one thing where there aren't fake Giant fans or fake followers or guys that are just following our Facebook group. All right, that's the Big Blue Podcast Facebook group. Make sure you join it. All right, like I mentioned earlier. All right, but you also know if you want, we are on Twitter. You can always find us at BBO MYG Podcast on Twitter, or if you want to hit us up individually, we like that kind of shit too. Listen, maybe you want to come after this NYG slap parade, because if you go after John there, he might have to screenshot some of your conversation, and you're gonna owe him some motherfucking money come next February, all right?
Hey,
that's it, man.
And listen, I think Mike Trainer MFT wants to get down with that shit too. So if you want to find him, you can find him on Twitter. Come out there, he'll start screenshotting that. And if you just want to talk shit, because I love talking shit, you can find me at Jules NYC1. All right. But I think that's about it for this week. That wraps this week's episode up. You'll find us here next week. But listen, this was another great show. We are out, and we will see you guys next week.
Peace.